Hello, this is Taylor Lindsay submitting a screencast-o-matic for my blended learning activity for Wilmington University EDT 6020. First and foremost, within the blended learning activity in our discussion board, we would have our warm-up selection of what we are going to do for that day. Students can post this directly onto the slides presentation that is posted on Schoology through Google Classroom. They are able to comment. So they would just hit a little plus sign and make a comment that would be on each of the slides that are here, depending on what they see, where they think. And these are some things that we've been able to go over within Classroom. So right here, you would point out the houses and how the overall structure of the dust storm that's coming in. Maybe they think it's a sandstorm. And then going off our prior knowledge from our Great Depression unit, we would probably talk about how this is the Dust Bowl and the people that are seen there, how dangerous it would be for all of these issues, okay? So this would be followed up actually by my own screencast of this short presentation to give some more prior knowledge on the Dust Bowl, wherein there are the explanations that the Dust Bowl was from the 1930s into the 1940s during the Great Depression and just how terrible, how effective it actually was. Within the screencast, it would talk about how everything is primarily in Tornado Alley, just because the prevailing winds. We have the Rocky Mountains that are presented here, and students will be able to see that there's the Appalachians here, and just how far and how much this was able to reach, especially in New Mexico, Texas, Kansas, Colorado, and the Oklahoma Panhandle. We would talk about dust storms and just how dangerous they would be, how big they were, and the major causes of it, and then how it displaced and people had to migrate, referencing something like John Steinbeck with the Grapes of Wrath, or the people that were homesteaders and had to come through. So overall, this would be a solid background, just a short 2 to 3 minute presentation on the Dust Bowl overall. Our LEQ for the day would be what caused the Dust Bowl, less an essential question or central historian question, depending on which preference you would have. Okay. Within that, I will not have the whole video play, but students would also get a background perspective from PBS and Ken Burns, who is a very well-known documentarian. And it would just play through. It's a short 5-minute video that they're able to process, listen to, get some background knowledge on whether or not the Dust Bowl was caused by an environmental cataclysm versus a man-made cataclysm. And they use that word pretty often. Students would then be prompted to go into their groups that are already assigned within Schoology and Google Classroom, and they would be provided an initial hypothesis of what caused the Dust Bowl. So they would put their name and or group number. So if I was Mr. Lindsay and group 1, they would have that already assigned, date and block. And their initial hypothesis, which is presented in the short presentation, is what caused the Dust Bowl. So I think that the Dust Bowl, let's get grammatically correct here, was caused by nature. And that's all they need to do for their initial hypotheses. Overall, and I'm going to move this up just a bit. Overall, students are also going to be able to add to their hypothesis, change their hypothesis of what they would like to do. So each document that they have, and they've done this multiple times, both in class and on the blended learning system, is they are able to, I'm going to move this up just a little bit more so we can see where we're looking at. I'm going to do it again. I don't want to move it too quickly. Of the documents that are associated. So each student would look at the Henderson letter. They would read through it for 27 years, this little expansion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They have the sourcing that's here. And they would say, well, Student 1 would read document 1, student 2 would read document 2, or if it's a group of 4, they would each work in pairs online and they could all comment on the same. I think the Dust Bowl, let's do that again, was caused by nature. And then any evidence that was from the document, and they can quote it, where they could talk about until it rains, or dust to eat. So I'm just going to take that short quote right here, until it rains, pop it in here, or not. Copy, paste, until it rains. Okay. Following this, we would go into the Svoboda account. Students would be able to copy it. They could talk about the gales. They could talk about overgrazing. They could talk about everything. So realistically, there'd been overgrazing, but it was these tractors, combines, and they discussed throughout this entire article that it was, I think, the Dust Bowl was caused by nature and power farming. So you could take any sort of quote that would be here. So any excerpt 2 in this big selection here. And for some reason, it's not letting me paste into here, but that's okay. So you could talk about overgrazing and things of the like. And as they move through, they would continue under their second hypotheses. Students would also be working on their third. Lastly, what caused the Dust Bowl, and have evidence from all 3 rounds. Overall, they'd be able to answer everything that's posted here within one big group, and that would be part of our paragraph response that would fall in here. Okay, and that is the activity for the blended learning system. Thank you.